We're back on a Monday night here on OpenLine, everybody. Rory Johnston with our chief investigative reporter Phil Williams as we continue the discussion tonight. If you watch News Channel 5 at 6, Phil debuted an exclusive investigation into testing in metro schools. And we all know, Phil, the emphasis that's been placed and the pressure really that's been placed on schools, districts, all across the state, all across the country, really, and get those scores. That's all we hear about is scores, scores, scores. And anecdotally, I know, just talking to my own kids, one in middle school, one in high school, and you've got a high schooler, the preparation that they put into compared to when we were in school. I mean, there was hardly any preparation for SAT when I was in, there wasn't much 30 some years ago, and now it seems like they spend an awful lot of time. The pressure is on these teachers and the administrators to put up some good numbers.
Yeah, when you and I were younger, people looked at the numbers. They would strive to do well.
Sure.
Now it can affect a teacher's career.
Yeah.
It can affect a principal's career. And we talked to a gentleman today or yesterday, I think, or the last few days. They're all running together, but who is with a testing advocacy group who is concerned that we're doing the wrong things with testing. Right. That we're using it to apply too much pressure on schools, too much pressure on teachers. And so I think that's kind of an underlying issue here.
And I know in other places already the conversation has begun, like, wait a minute, is there a better way to assess where our kids are and how to? Before we get into more specifics, and we do have one caller on, if you'd like to call in, 615-737+, everybody, please give us a call so you can ask your question or make your comment. Go back to right now, first of all, there's a whole team of you. We see you, we see Ben Hall, we see Jennifer Krause, and behind the scenes we have photographer and producer, and you all work so well together, award-winning team. The genesis of a story like this, how does it begin? Is it something you see that you're interested in? Is it a tip from someone? You start getting a few emails. I mean, you get so many every day. How do you know, hey, this might be something, and that you're going to start to invest some time into it?
It's all of the above. Yeah. But I mean, we get tips from people, email, phone calls, running into people at the grocery store. I mean, that's one of my favorite ways to get stories, because people. So
you don't get tired of that?
No, occasionally. I mean, I guess I would be lying if I said I did not get occasionally tired of it. But people stop me and they're very earnest, and so and when they're talking to me about a problem that affects them, in person you can actually see that. Yeah. But some of it is curiosity, and so I mean, this investigation. Actually, I started working on this just out of my own curiosity, and then it ended up through a source of being introduced to these two former high school guidance counselors. Right. And so it was kind of the perfect situation where I was curious about something, and then I hear about them. And
we brag on our station and our ownership all the time, but one of the great things about the work that you do, and really it's kind of poured into the foundation of News Channel 5, is their commitment to investigative journalism, and that you have the time and the resources that you need, especially if you well, I'm sure you'd like more time, but
I like a little more sleep.
Yeah, a little more sleep this time of year. But that they do give you that time, and your team that time to, hey, dig and get to the truth.
Yeah, right? and a testament to that is tonight's story was almost 6 minutes long. Right. And normally a television story could be a minute, 30 seconds, or a couple of minutes. Yeah. And so the station sees important stories like this and says, okay, let's just clear away some other things and
let it run.
And let it run.
Right. All right, let's go to the phones, and Jeanette's been holding patiently. Jeanette, thank you. Welcome.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that Phil does an excellent job.
Okay.
And I always watch his investigative reports. They're very informative.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
The second thing I'd like to say is I do feel that they're putting too much pressure on the teachers and the students to achieve high scores instead of really making sure that they learn.
Right.
I also feel that the administrators who oversee the schools, what they do is, not what they do, I feel their students, not students, their children are probably at somewhere like MLK or June Fog or in a private school, so they're not dealing with children on a day-to-day basis in terms of those children really are getting the skills that they need to pass the test. But in the old days, they really made sure that the kids learn. That's not being done now. It's all about the dollar.
Do you feel, Jeanette, that it's, and I've heard this from a number of really concerned parents just through my own kids going through school, that a lot of times they're afraid that the kids, all they're learning how to do is take a test. And like you said, they're not actually learning the subject matter.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And I'm not being critical. I was one of those fortunate parents that my daughter ended up at MLK. Also, I put the time in to make sure that my daughter learned what was being taught to her. But I don't feel that the average kid today, that they are getting that same type of attention.
Right.
Like I said, I'm very happy that Phil is doing this report. It needs to be done.
All right, Jeanette, thank you. We appreciate it.
It's an issue, I think, that hits home with a lot of people because, you know, most of us have kids or grandkids or nieces, nephews, and I think this is a very common issue that families are facing these days.
We should point out, too, that this is, it's tough when you do a story like this because we know there's a lot of great things happening in metro schools.
Absolutely.
They face a lot of struggles, you know, with maybe a lack of resources in some instances, and there's a lot of positive, and we do try to report on those positives as much as possible.
Yeah, and you know, I was out at a football game Friday night at one of the schools that we're doing stories about, and I know, based on my own reporting and based on stories that are still to come, that there are some issues there, you know, potentially based on the pressure that school officials have been under.
Right.
But I also saw, you know, it was senior night, and I saw, you know, a principal who cares about her students.
Yeah.
And so you see the very human side of this. You see people under pressure, and there are real issues that I think this community needs to talk about.
And just to remember also, as we continue our discussion tonight, you know, these administrators and teachers are working for, in my opinion, not a lot of money, and we all know that they can be underpaid. So it's to see them caring like that. You know, there's a lot of good people out there.
That's right.
In the system. Let's go back to the phones if we can. Let's go to Renee on line 2. Hey, Renee.
Hello. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Go ahead.
This subject has really began something that is really peeling an onion off. The testing in school, my position is this. Testing should be taught to be fun. It's a reflection of what you have learned.
Right.
That's just the bottom line. As the teachers are teaching, they should also be teaching the students how to reflect on what they have learned. And
Comprehension,
I was one of those students that would just get totally intimidated when a test came on.
Yeah.
But with a lot of training, and my school had resources to help me. That's another thing. Here in the public schools, they do not have enough resources that's readily available to help all students. A lot of schools are picking and choosing the students that they help. And I know that after 23 years of foster parenting, my kids came into my house not even at grade level. Right. And I just simply worked with them at home, and I never had a child that did not make the dean's list. But I taught them here at home how to reflect on what they have learned.
Yeah, Renee, I mean, would you agree that, as you said, being a foster parent and dealing with different children, different kids learn differently?
Exactly.
You know,
and what I found out is that the teachers, bless their heart, somewhere they lost the connection in connecting with their students.
Right.
They subconsciously, if they see a child that have behavior problems or whatever the case may be, they don't recognize what they're doing, and they don't even encourage those kids that's low performers.
Right.
So they leave, and so then you have this classroom that has a division, and it's very hard for the teacher to bring the whole entire class together when you cause that division. So I'm saying we are not doing enough testing, but in the mannerism by which we're doing the testing,
right,
we're making it where it's a stressful situation, when it should not be. It should be a reflection of what they absolutely have learned. And the teachers, many of the teachers I come across, they're just not connected. They're highly educated, but they're not connected to the student with passion. And that's why the test scores are so low.
And Phil, have you heard similar issues come up as you talk to people and investigate this? Or?
Yeah, and one of the things that she also kind of referenced, because she takes in children who have all sorts of needs,
right?
And the school system inherits kids from all sorts of backgrounds who so there's some very real challenges that teachers face, and so the question is, do they get the training in how to deal with those challenges? And so again, testing doesn't necessarily reflect that experience.
Wow, the phone lines are lighting up now. We so appreciate it, everybody. Renee, great call. We're going to get to more calls right after this break. Stay with us.